Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to a Greenville County Library System virtual event. My name is Rachel, and I'm the Adult Outreach and Event Coordinator for the library. I'm so pleased you could join us for this event, Cooking Matters, Food Storage, and Kitchen Safety, presented by Clemson Snap Ed. If you're interested in our other virtual events and activities, please check out our website, greenvillelibrary.org, and select Adult Virtual Events under our Classes and Events button. You can also learn more about this topic by clicking on Health and Wellness under our Learning and Research heading. If you're interested in checking out cooking and wellness materials, make sure that your library card is up to date and come visit us at any of our locations. We look forward to serving you soon. So join me in welcoming our presenters for today, Myra and Diana with Clemson Snap Ed.
Hey everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you guys here. I'm going to share my screen really quick, and then Diana and I are going to kind of just take turns telling you some cool stuff about food storage and kitchen safety, and also, how to save money from not wasting food. A lot of cool stuff. And then at the end, we're going to show you a cool recipe as well. We'll send y'all the recipe printed tomorrow. So without further ado, again, my name is Myra, and we don't have to go around, but if anybody wants to share their favorite food or their favorite thing to make, I would love to hear it. And if anybody wants to share what they want to learn from this course, we'd love to hear it. And if nobody wants to share, we're okay with that too. But the only things that I wanted to mention really quick before we give y'all the opportunity to speak if you want to is our only expectation is that y'all participate. So if we do have questions, if y'all want to give us some answers, or you can either come off mute and tell us what you think, or you can put it in the chat box and we'll read that. If you have questions, we'd love to hear those as well. And then if just as far as Zoom goes, if you're new to using Zoom, there is a mute button on the side of your screen. Your picture should be kind of smaller on the right-hand side of the screen now, and it's in the top right-hand side because I have the screen shared right now. So there will be a mute button right there, and then there's also opportunity for you to hide your screen if you'd like to do that by pushing stop video. And then the chat box, let's see, since I have screen shared, I would have to, can y'all see that on the bottom bar, the chat box? Or is it there anymore? So if you see the bottom bar, there should be a place that says chat. Y'all can share with us there.
We already have one participant who's posted in the chat box.
Let's see.
It might just be showing up to me. They say that
Yeah.
fried okra is on his brain today. He loves cooking his grandma's simple recipe.
I do love okra. Isn't he? I'm from actually southern Alabama, like the south part of Alabama. So I am all into the fried okra and okra in general. Day, do you do okra?
I do, but I'm one of those people who prefers my okra boiled. I'm one of those people. Yeah, I like boiled okra with like onions over like rice and stuff. Like that's my jam.
Me too, or in different like gumbo or different soups and things like that. Oh, okra. Good call. And I know this is a health class, but we are very open, so you don't have to have your favorite food doesn't have to be a healthy favorite food. We're going to talk about how to make the foods that you like a little bit more healthy kind of throughout these classes. So if you want to tell us about a food that you love that is not necessarily something that you would qualify as healthy, that's okay, because my favorite food is pizza. And I put a ton of vegetables on my pizza to make it more healthy, but it doesn't have to. All right, good deal. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Day, do you want, well, I'll do this and then I'll let you do the next slide, Dave. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through some of this a little bit quicker, and then we're going to have discussions for you guys, but we're going to learn about something called My Plate, discussing how to save foods and using the foods that you have, and then learning how to save time and save more food by freezing them and using using the ingredients that you have. And then we're going to talk about practicing safe knife skills and just safe kitchen things in general. And then we're going to learn a new recipe.
So we are
Briefly.
super aware of all the reasons we should be washing our hands right now, but specifically anytime that we're in the kitchen, we just want to make sure that we wash our hands anytime before, during, and after you prepare food, especially before you eat, because you don't want to put a bunch of germs in your mouth. Anytime you use the restroom, anytime you change a diaper or clean with chemicals, I think sometimes people forget, like, when you clean with chemicals, like, they're making things clean, but they're putting things on your hands you probably shouldn't put in your mouth. Anytime you touch animals or animal waste, and if someone at home is sick, that's super important because we just want to cut down on the spread of germs from one place to another. And of course, we always tell people you want to wash your hands for about 20 seconds. So, if you're feeling especially happy, you can sing happy birthday to yourself twice, or whatever, chorus to whatever song, makes you feel great on the inside. And then you want to rinse and dry. Make sure you dry your hands off and use that paper towel to turn this faucet off so you don't touch all the germs you just touched on there. So yes. And then we got a little bit about knife safety over here. And I think Myra does like an amazing job of knife safety in her videos, but there's a couple things we just want to touch on. You want to make sure that you wash your fingers. So you want to kind of make a little claw out of your fingers. So you tuck them out of the way. You don't have to worry about chopping off the tips of your nails or the tips of your fingers. Nails grow back, fingers don't. And then you want to make sure you're leading down with the tip. So that helps you not make such a blunt cut, so it kind of helps you get through the fruit or vegetable or meat that you're cutting a little bit easier. And of course, you're going to want to slice, so you're not cutting through the food in like a very blunt way, because it's not safe and it also isn't very effective. And then we talk about creating a flat surface. Sometimes that sounds a little weird, but what you want to do is just cut a flat surface on whatever you're cutting. So like, say if you have an apple, you want to make a flat side on that apple by cutting one side off, so you have somewhere to lay it flat so it's not rolling around everywhere and you're not trying to play Fruit Ninja with your food. So yes.
Absolutely. Although, what a fun game, but maybe
What
not.
a fun game. Maybe not in real life, but on that phone, it's really fun.
Yeah. Fruit Ninja, not in the real kitchen. I love it. So if anybody wants to answer, you are totally welcome to. This is something called My Plate. If you've ever seen it before, that's wonderful. And if you've never seen it before in your life, that's also totally okay. But does anybody know the 5 food groups, or want to give me 1 or 2 of them? Or all 5, because you probably might know.
I can start.
Yes.
Vegetables should be the biggest green quadrant.
Yeah.
Boom. Got it. What else you got?
Someone has offered fruits in the chat box.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That's 2.
They're saying meats and protein.
Yep. Protein. Good deal. There's one that's like it would be rice or pasta or breads. What would that be classified as?
Okay, Brandon says carbs.
Ooh, they are full of carbs, but the category is actually called grains. You are still on the right track. There are a lot of carbs in grains. And then there's one that's a drink, so like milk or yogurt or things like that would be
Dairy.
boom. You guys are awesome. So you guys got them all. So fruits, grains, vegetables, proteins, and dairy. Essentially, I won't go too deep into this. You guys know proteins are going to be meats, beans, different types of nuts and seeds, vegetables. The list goes on. There's so many different types of vegetables. Just a few: peppers, mushrooms, onions, asparagus, kale, spinach, zucchini, okra. You all mentioned okra earlier. Fruit, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. Grains would be, like we said, pasta, rice, breads, most types of cereals, oats. And then dairy would be like yogurt or milk or cheese or something like that. So the reason that we talk about My Plate, or that I even mention it at all, is because it doesn't have too much to do with kitchen safety, but I loved it start the classes out talking about My Plate because when we cook, when we make recipes, it is really important to us that we think about all 5 of these food groups and how to incorporate all 5 of them into what we're cooking. So it's wonderful to have each of these in every meal that you cook, but if you can't get them in every meal every day, we need to be eating from all of these food groups, or it is good to try to eat from all of these food groups. If you're thinking to yourself that you're like, I'm a vegetarian, I don't really do protein, because some people think, meat is the only form of protein. That's not true. Beans are a great source of protein, different types of nuts, all of that stuff. There are other alternatives that are maybe if you're lactose intolerant that, you can do dairy things that maybe are less lactose than others. So there's ways to get most of these. And if you do grains, we just recommend that half of your grains is whole grains. So things like whole grain bread or oats that are whole grain. You can try to at least make half of your grains whole grains, and then making half of your plate fruits and vegetables is also important to us. So it's just worth mentioning, and we'll kind of talk about that during each of these lessons as we go through the series.
And if anybody has like questions, because I know like we've dealt with like populations sometimes that don't necessarily do like meat and dairy. I am plant-based. I'm not a plant-based guru, but I am plant-based. So if you have any questions about like what might be a great substitute for something, especially if you're looking for something similar in texture or taste, I can always make like very helpful recommendations. So yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. I love that. All right. Day, I'll let you ask questions.
This kind of like feeds us off into the portion of like food storage. So are there like foods that you currently have in your fridge, freezer, or pantry that you aren't using?
Sometimes frozen fruit can stay in my freezer for a really long time because I intend to turn them into smoothies, and then it doesn't always happen.
Yeah. The good news is you're not leaving them in the refrigerator long enough to go bad. They're just hanging out in the freezer for a little while, which is okay. Do you have a reason maybe that makes it hard to use those things?
Pardon?
Is there like something that makes it hard to use the fruit, like something that's holding you back from making that smoothie, or?
Yeah, I'm always trying to balance out having the right amount of spinach to put into the smoothie with the fruit, and I can never quite buy the right amount at the store.
Yeah. Yep.
That's fair. That's fair.
So you'll have a surplus of one or the other, right?
Yeah.
Spinach or way too much strawberries or something.
I sometimes like whenever I have like a ton of fruit and I know like it's either gonna like go bad before I get a chance to use it, or I don't have like all the things that I would want to put in there to make it like some super smoothie, I'll like blend it up, and if I know I'm gonna use it like super soon, I'll put like the fruit puree. I don't put any other stuff in there. I just blend up the fruit and I stick the like blended up fruit in the fridge if I know I'm gonna get to it like within the week, and then I can kind of just like throw my ice in there and then all my like super toppings and stuff and like my spinach, and then if I timely manner, I just freeze them in ice trays and stick them in the freezer so they're already in cube form, they're already frozen, and I can just throw them in my blender.
That's a great idea.
That might be a helpful hint.
Yeah. And we've got somebody in the chat saying canned goods stay a long time, and especially jams. And ethnic foods I have dreams of making include chickpeas and coconut milk.
Oh, okay.
So is it that you have the chickpeas and the coconut milk in your pantry kind of hanging out, but you don't get around to using them? That might be what they're.
Yes, that's what they're saying. Yes. They stay in the pantry.
Make that curry. You want it, make it. Yeah, a lot of these things that end up going bad. Luckily, chickpeas and if it's canned coconut milk, those things will stay for a long time, which is very good. Not doesn't contribute too much to food waste, but think to yourself whenever these things are happening is what is the barrier that is preventing you from making the thing that you want to make. Rachel had a good point of, she really wants to make a smoothie and has, some of the means to do that. And what are some things that she could do to make herself make that smoothie so that she doesn't waste the fruit that's in the freezer. And Day made good points of going ahead and blending up the fruit ahead of time for those things. If you're wanting to make your ethnic dish as you described for the chickpeas and the coconut milk, make a meal schedule for your week. That's going to go ahead and tell you on Wednesday night, I have it scheduled. I'm going to make the time to do this, and I'm going to make this new recipe. So think of the barriers that are contributing to you not using that, whether it's knowledge or of the recipe or whether it's lack of another ingredient.
They're saying that the other items for the curry or hummus are harder to find, so the easy staples wait until I can find the unique vegetable or spice I need to add.
Dave, what are you going to say on that?
Oh, sorry. I was trying to mute myself and unmute myself really fast. I'm one of those people who I identify with wanting to make recipes, but I'm also one of those people who's just I'll just buy all the things when I go to the store, and so I never know how to keep things until I get other things. So I'm just but also my pantry has the most random things in it. So 9 times I have saffron in my pantry, and I bought it probably a year ago and still haven't used it, but that's one of those things that you're I need this to make this recipe, and I can't find it at except for every blue moon. So no, I definitely identify that with that. So if anybody does have a helpful hint with that, I'm all ears.
I don't know if my helpful hint directly is going to hit the nail on the head, but for that is when you do find the location that you want to go shopping to find these unique vegetables or ingredients that you're going to need, especially if it's produce or anything that might go bad, try to meal plan other things that are of different types of food that are going to incorporate that. So unfortunately, I can't think of a good cilantro is not a very good example because it only costs $1. But if you were to use cilantro in your curry or something of that go ahead and plan something for Wednesday. You're going to make your curry with the cilantro, and then on Friday or Saturday, let's plan something else that's also going to utilize that cilantro so that it's not going bad, because we know that we're not going to use a whole bunch of it, not a whole lot, but a bunch of it in that one recipe. So things like that, if that's kind of holding you back as well. So sometimes when you make these unique recipes that have a ton of ingredients, it feels like they cost a lot of money to make, but that's only because they sometimes you end up not using the rest of the ingredients. So
and I will say you can also freeze herbs too. You can freeze them in olive oil.
Yeah.
That's a thing. So you already have ready-made seasoning pods. So that is, if you get some herbs and you don't know what to do with them, freeze them.
Yeah,
or just freeze them in water too. You can just use water. That's completely feasible.
Absolutely. And if y'all have more questions on the other slide, y'all can go with that too. I just wanted to move just to ask another question.
And I think we kind of touched on this, but does anybody freeze food to avoid waste? And what kind of foods do you freeze? This is a super important question because I've also realized that we've all realized that we don't freeze things properly. So yeah, let's talk about the foods that you freeze, and if you do freeze foods, to avoid wasting them.
While everyone else is thinking, I'll go ahead and answer. We have a lot of blueberry bushes in our yard, and when they come in season, it's too much for two of us to eat all of them. So we definitely freeze them, and we do it by freezing them in a single line first until they're completely frozen, and then you can put them in a bag.
So that they don't all stick. That's
Yeah.
Very
I
smart.
never think about that. I would literally just think to be like, put them in a bag and throw them in the freezer, but it makes sense to freeze them like in a line.
Any fruit that y'all can do that in, if you just put them out before you put them in the actual bag. I made that mistake one time when I had a lot of bananas that were about to go bad, and I used bananas in my smoothies, and so I peeled them, put them all in a bag, all is fine until I come back and my bag of is one mass glob of banana. So yeah, if you just put them out, like Rachel said, any of your fruits, then put them in a bag after like a few hours.
And we've got
meat. So
meat, and then someone else said hot peppers.
Hot peppers.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. There are I can't say everything, but are tons of things that you can freeze that a lot of people don't even think of. You can freeze milk. So if you are, your milk is a few days away from going bad and you have no plans for using that amount of milk anytime soon, you can freeze that. Peppers, yeah, tons of different types of vegetables. They said the herbs, things that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but that are in the long run are going to save you a lot of money.
We've got a question in the chat. They wrap their bananas in plastic wrap and want to know, is that dangerous? Does the plastic leach in the freezer?
That is
Sorry,
a wonderful.
Say that one more time. Oh, say it one more time. My internet froze.
They wrap their bananas in plastic wrap and put them in the freezer, and they're wondering if that's okay or if that's dangerous because the plastic could possibly rub off or be dangerous. I'm actually unsure, so.
I have like a half answer to that. So I do know that chemicals leach out of plastics when they're heated. So I do know that is a fact. I don't know if that applies to cold also, but I think if you wanted to get around that, maybe wrap your fruits and veggies in parchment paper before you put them in the plastic. That might be helpful, but I probably would just like let me ask Google.
Yeah. Well, you're asking Google, because I would love to know the answer to that as well. I've not ever thought of that, but that is a great question. So we definitely don't want to be doing, I would actually think does the plastic wrap not stick to the banana? I guess if you freeze it first, I'm not sure. I don't know how that would work. Okay.
I have an answer.
Go ahead.
It says that freezer temperatures can cause plastics to deteriorate, which increases the bleaching of chemicals. So I'm thinking essentially don't leave the plastic in there too long. But again, I think wrapping it in like a parchment paper, or I have those cool little beeswax, the beeswax, I don't know what they're called. I just call them beeswax thingies. But those, you can put those in the freezer too, and they probably would work better once they are frozen because I warmed them up with my hands until they like will mold to the fruit or veggie. So I think making sure that you just don't keep it in there too long, and that you maybe put it inside of something beforehand, and you should be good to go.
Right. That's awesome. My last, if anybody has any questions, please keep asking them. But my last point to say for frozen foods is that utilizing our freezer when we're doing making meals and can make large batches of things and then freeze portions of them to pull out later is going to save you time in the kitchen. It's going to save you money long term, cooking in big batches. It's just a great tool to utilize whenever you can. So if you're making a large batch of soup or a casserole or something of the like that you are making, you can make a larger batch of it and then set aside some of it to freeze for a later meal. And if you're feeling really meal preppy, you can go ahead and put it in the containers of the amount that you would like to eat so that you can just pull out that for the day that you want to take it to lunch. And like I said, it'll save you time and money in the long run. So utilizing the freezer for these things is a really, really good idea.
Someone in the chat says that they always flash boil the hot peppers before storing so they don't deteriorate. And then someone else uses daily harvest is great to save time.
So this walks us right into
that day. You go ahead.
Perfectly. So that's like one of the things we like to talk about is like blanching fruits and vegetables. I actually had a conversation with my godmom probably like 2 weeks ago, and I was just talking to her about blanching fruits and veggies, and she goes, "Is that why my vegetables never taste right after I take them out of the freezer?" And I was like, yeah, probably. And so like a lot of people don't know that like you need to blanch your vegetables, which is basically just flash freezing them, like one of the participants said with their peppers, and that essentially is going to like preserve them, I guess is the best way to explain it. But and it keeps them fresher once you freeze them, because I think when you just put them in there raw, it kind of like destroys the integrity of the fruit or vegetable. So yeah, so we have like a little quick thing. So you want to rinse dry and prep all of your fruits and veggies. And then if you're going to freeze the veggies, that's when you make sure you want to blanch them. And it's like super quick. You just get a nice pot of boiling water. You stick your vegetables in there, let them hang out for like, you know, probably like 3 to 5-ish minutes. I usually am very lazy and I just dunk them in there pretty fast. And then you want to put them in a bowl of ice water, and that ice water is going to stop the cooking process essentially, so they don't cook anymore. And then you're going to drain them well and you'll pat them dry, and then you're going to put them in a single layer and you're just going to stick them in the, on a baking sheet and then in the freezer. And then once they're frozen, so they don't all stick together and you don't have a banana mass, you can stick them in your freezer bag at that point. So that is how you flash freeze all your things at home.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. I have gotten lazy a few times and not done that. And it definitely does. It affects the texture of what you're eating. It affects the taste of it. And a lot of time affects the color of it too, which is kind of strange. But so definitely keeps the integrity of the vegetables and fruits better for when you do this. So. Okay. And we're not gonna, Day did such a good job telling us about it. So I guess I could ask, do you guys have any kids in your household before we even worry about this? Does anybody? Because I won't even waste your...
Got one that says no, but going to have a kid.
Perfect. I can touch on this.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Pretty much we know that, well, I guess I can ask you, is do kids waste a lot of food at your home? Is that a problem in your household for anyone yet? No, it's okay if you, I might speak to it even if you don't have a problem with it quite yet.
One person says, kids are awful, yes, LOL. And then the other one says, yes, sometimes.
Yes. Kids are not the best about, are not that great at not wasting food. So some tips on cutting down food waste with children eating is going to be, one, to make them give them, if you're going to be serving them, give them smaller portions and let them ask for seconds. So teaching them it's okay to ask for more if you're still hungry, and I will happily give you that, but we're going to start you out with a small plate, because a lot of times we are in the culture and the mentality of, we make this big plate, finish what's on your plate. That's the mentality we're in. You have to finish what's on your plate. And a lot of times that leads to overeating and some different psyche things about eating that we don't really want to encourage too much. We want kids to know that, listen to your body on how much you want to eat. But definitely we'll still want to, get them to try their vegetables and things like that. But, maybe, just watching the portion sizes that you're giving them initially, or letting kids serve themselves, depending on their age, obviously, and use your discretion on that. So maybe letting kids serve themselves, they, make your rule of, okay, you have to have a little bit of everything, but you can make your own plate because you know how hungry you are, not me. So that's already going to cut down on food waste. And then, because I know it's a little harder to save things that are on their plates, but you can always, if y'all are leftover families, like we're a big leftover family, you can wrap their food and have them use some of it again the next night, or whenever y'all all do. If you're doing lasagna that night, if everybody's doing lasagna again, you wrap what's on their plate, and there you go. They have a little bit left of what their lasagna is before. A little bit of food wasted on each plate kind of adds up to be a lot over time. And then this is kind of a rhetorical question, but just if you think about for a second, like how much money do you think is lost with food that is wasted in your own refrigerator or on your counter that you don't select? I probably, Dayana's so tired of me hearing me say this, but every time we have a class, she probably knows. Do you know what food I waste all the time? Would you know what do I say every time?
I want to say onions or mushrooms.
Oh, mushrooms is one of them. Mushroom, kale.
Kale, yes.
Kale. I feel like I'm always saying how much I like kale and then I waste it. And I'm really disappointed at myself by it. And I love mushrooms, but those two things go wasted at my house a lot. And I think sometimes, how much money am I throwing away? Because food, one of the things that we like to say is, food wasted is the most expensive food. It's not that your avocado was really expensive if you ate it, it's really expensive if you throw it away and didn't get to eat it at all. So.
Yeah, this is just,
You go ahead.
Yeah, a quick example of how much the food you wasted costs. And I mean, it's fine to eat $2 worth of apples, but it kind of sucks to throw $2 worth of apples away. And one of the things that we talk about, I don't know if it's on this PowerPoint, this lesson or the next one, but we talk about how even when you're shopping, for instance, if you're buying meat from the store, if you get a meat that has a higher fat content, you kind of wasted money because you can't eat that fat. You usually drain it off 95% of the time, unless you're one of those people who likes the fat and you're big, more power to you. But yeah, it's just those little things, think about being able to eat all the money's worth that you spent on food. So we just want to make sure that we're preparing that food, or we're prepping that food to be frozen or to do something with it. We just don't want to metaphorically throw our dollars away. So yes. But that's what you got all this information for, so you don't have to waste food.
Yeah. And sometimes, and this is truly, sometimes there are things that you know in the back of your head, but we need reminders. We need reminders to use it or lose it, or to not let your dollars go in the trash can, and to freeze your food that is going to go bad in a few days, but you really think you might eat it tomorrow and then you don't. We just need gentle reminders to go ahead and freeze your food and save your money. Yeah. So we don't actually, since there's so few of us, we don't have to go into a breakout room, but I would love to do this activity. It'll only take a few minutes, and then we're going to do our recipe. But I want everybody just to think really quick about one or two items that are in your fridge or on your counter, things that are not canned or not frozen already, you can exaggerate if you don't actually have anything going bad, but if you have something in your refrigerator, real life right now, that's kind of going on the process of going bad, and then we're all going to talk together and make a meal using our items that are going bad from each person's home. We're going to work together and talk through it, and then we try to use as many of each other's items as we can to make a recipe, because this is what it's all about. There's not exactly there's tips and tricks that we can give you guys, but it's doing things like this, like thinking out where your food is going to go and how you can use it is what's going to be the best strategies. So
I'll go ahead and volunteer up my avocados for tribute because I bought a bunch of hard avocados and I got upset because I was like, I want them to be ripe. So I put them in a brown paper bag and forgot to take them out in a timely manner so they're all overly ripe. So help me figure out what to do with those avocados.
Okay. I love it.
Got someone says grapes and an assortment of jams.
Okay.
And then cantaloupe and
Grapes.
sour cream.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and put these in the chat too so we can remember grapes, avocados.
And I'll say nuts too.
Okay. So True Life, we just had, I'm sure most of you experienced the hurricane that came through last week. So I may have shed a tear, but I just had to empty most of my refrigerator contents, which was very, very sad. So I don't have anything going bad anymore because it all went bad. But I do have lettuce, romaine lettuce right now that has maybe 4 or 5 days left in it, but I'll say lettuce. Okay. Oh, and then somebody says cashews. Okay. So we can use other things that are outside of this list. Oh, and carrots too. It's a good one too. So if y'all want to look at a few of these things and let's talk through some ideas. They don't all have to be the same. Just of things that we could use these with.
I'll go ahead and volunteer a super simple fruit salad. You could definitely throw some grapes and cantaloupe and nuts together. Yeah. And a little bit of Greek yogurt and have a nice little parfait of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Do a dressed up chicken salad too.
Yeah.
With the grapes and you could even put in a little bit of sour cream.
Cream.
Yeah. You can even,
and with your chicken, you could use the lettuce as a wrap. You could do wraps instead of like on a sandwich or something.
I know another thing I do, because I know we talked about chickpeas earlier, I make like fake chicken salad, or I just like mash up chickpeas and then I throw in some like vegan mayonnaise and then some avocado, and that's like my chicken salad. Yeah.
Okay, day after this, I need that recipe because that sounds
absolutely
in real life.
It's so yummy.
We've got someone who says to wrap that cantaloupe in some prosciutto.
Oh, that sounds very fancy, like something you'd find on a charcuterie board.
Yes. Yes. Actually, with some of these items, we look well on our way to host a little, very small gathering COVID. But I love that. Prosciutto, I would have never thought of that. It's a great idea. Day, you said your avocados were like really ripe, like very soft.
Like if I use them all today, that's great. But tomorrow they may have some black spots on them.
If they're really, really ripe and maybe the texture is too weird to do anything else with, you can do, you can make a dressing with it or like a topping, and you could actually use the sour cream. I know you wouldn't use sour cream, but you could use sour cream and avocado and a little bit of salt and pepper and lemon juice. And you can make like a creamy type of dressing. And if you wanted it to be like a salad dressing where it was more runny, you could use olive oil in there or white vinegar, a very small.
I never thought to make a dressing with avocados, but now I'm going to do that.
Yes, I've made it the dressing. So if you wanted to make it more runny, you can use like olive oil or something like that. But I make it and I'll put it on wraps, like so we could use lettuce wraps. And you don't put any oil or anything in that. You would just use the avocado. I use Greek yogurt, but sour cream would be, since it's going bad, that's what we would use, sour cream. And then, like I said, like lemon or just a little bit of salt and pepper.
And that would last in the fridge a little bit too because of the lemon juice in there. So it'll keep it for a little bit. I like it.
And it'll stay for, 2 days, 2 or 3 days without going bad if you have the lemon juice in it.
Nice.
Do you guys have a little bit of a feel for where we're going? Well, does anybody else have any ideas before we move on? Any other ideas?
I'm hungry.
I know. I'm buttering you guys up to show you a good recipe, and then you'll think it's so good because we got you hungry, and you're going to love it no matter what. That's my whole plan. So what I wanted you guys, and I hope, maybe came through on this, is for us to see some random ingredients. These are, pretty completely random, but they're things that are going bad. And if you, pretended like all these things are the things that are going bad in your refrigerator, that's what I want you guys to be thinking. Like, maybe these don't automatically go together, but let me think of a way that I can tie some of these ingredients together to use them today or tomorrow. Let me plan for using these things tomorrow before I can't use them anymore. Because, like, I used Dayana's example because I know you're the ones that had the avocado, but if you had 2 avocados and they're 2 for $3 at the local superstore, that's $3 that we, might be out if we throw them away. So just some ideas. Thank you so much for entertaining that for a minute. Okay, let me move on. Day, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm constantly moving around the little bar with everybody.
I know, me too. I'm all over the place with it.
So these are just a couple of tips on saving money. Like Myra said, the most expensive food is the food we waste, of course. So just try and plan to use it all up. Especially with the ingredients you have access to. Of course, you can brainstorm, and you can be like me and make avocados into dressing. That's a huge possibility. Use your freezer to save money by throwing less food away. We talked about some ways that you guys can prep food so that you can put it in the freezer and make sure it lasts long enough to actually be able to use it. And then, of course, we're going to reduce kids' waste by letting them serve themselves if they can, or offering new tastes of new food. Another thing too with smaller kids too, we do a lot of food tastings, or we call them food critics, but with smaller kids, and we encourage them, we use the 2-bite rule, so they have to take at least 2 bites of something. And of course, if you have more than 1 kid in the household, we like to tell them don't yuck someone's yum, because someone might absolutely love cantaloupe, but it might not be your ministry, and that's completely fine. But you just, keep it to yourself. Don't make a nasty face. And of course, like Myra said, to give them smaller portions, especially with how fast kids move, and they're just never in one spot for more than 5 seconds. So they might need to have a little blueberry that they can pick up and go into the kitchen or the living room with, and be able to come back to a couple of blueberries instead of a full plate that might be a little overwhelming for them. So
awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're not quite done yet. I don't get too excited. I do have one more thing. It's only about 10 minutes long, but I do want to show you guys a recipe. After that, if you guys have any questions, so this recipe, like I said, is about 10 minutes long, maybe 11, maybe 12. And if you think of any questions while the video is going on, jot them down, put them in the chat box, and I can go over them after. Because we're just going to kind of keep it rolling. Or if it's an imperative question, you want me to stop right there, just unmute yourself and let us know. So we're going to go ahead and try to get this started. The recipe that we're making, I know I'll say it in just a second because I have it on this video, but it's chicken with apples and raisins, and it's an amazing fall dish. It's so delicious. I really hope you guys make it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And I really hope you guys can hear this video. So let me know if you have any trouble with audio or anything like that. Just let us know in the chat box. Oh, and Rachel and Day, once it starts, if y'all can just give me a thumbs up before you go off screen if you can hear it. Hi, I'm Myra Brookins from Clemson Snap Ed program, and I am going to show you guys how to make chicken with apples and raisins today. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy it. First things first, let's talk about our ingredients. We obviously have chicken. I'm using drumsticks. They are a little bit cheaper than the wings. So I also have fresh parsley, onion. I'm using 3 apples. I'm using 4 carrots. The recipe only calls for 2 carrots, but mine are a little bit smaller, and 2 apples, but mine are a little bit smaller again. So we also have cinnamon, cumin, and I'm using curry powder. salt, pepper, walnuts, raisins, chicken broth. Okay, and that is literally everything that we're going to be using today. So if you guys have these few ingredients, we can get started with it. So first thing that we're going to do is wash our hands, which I've already done, wipe down our countertops, and rinse our vegetables. We've already done that, so we're good to go there. Then we're going to go ahead and chop up our produce. Okay, so we'll start with carrots. I'm just going to do one of each of these things so you can see, and I'll do the rest behind the scenes. Okay, so I'm going to take my peeler. We want to be careful to keep our fingers out of the way, just like we do with knives, and we're going to kind of press down on a surface and just peel away from ourselves. And again, my thumb, instead of having it, I have it kind of wrapped right here, but it's level, if you can see, instead of having it out like this. So I have it kind of tucked behind. It's just a safer way to do it. Then we're going to flip it over. Peel the rest of the way. That looks great. Have these to the side for now. And then we're going to chop up our carrots. So there's a few different ways you can do this. We could do it in like small circles, which would look like this, which is fine, but I'm going to do mine a little bit smaller, and then I tried to cut in half. That didn't quite work. So I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to do the cut that I was just, so it's going to be half moons, okay? You've heard me say it 1,000 times on other videos probably, but remember, we're holding our knife with our index finger and our thumb pinching the blade, and then our other 3 fingers are wrapping around the handle, okay? And then, of course, our fingers back here are using a claw grip, so they're out of the way as well. Okay, I'm actually going to do this one in half once more, and then we'll do some more half moons. Once you have this, all your carrots done, we're going to add them to a, once you have all your carrots done, we're going to add them to a bowl. So I'm going to finish up the rest of mine in a moment, and we'll add them to this bowl. All right. Good deal. So now I'm going to do one of my apples. Again, these are already washed. I'm going to cut this a few different ways, trying to get as close to that core as I can. Good deal. And we're going to dice these as well, so we want them to be in smaller cubes. Get that so you can see it. And your pieces should be a little bit longer, but that should be about the size that they are. Scoop that into the bowl. All right, last little piece for this. All right, and now I'm gonna do our onion. Cutting the ends off here. It calls for a whole onion. All right, so we're gonna cut our onion. I just made a small slit down the side here, so all I should have to do is kind of peel the remainder off, this outer layer. All right, good deal. So I'm gonna cut this in half, and then I'm gonna use the flat edge to go down, just like we did for our apple. And then I'm gonna cut slices like this. I try to keep them together as much as possible. The next thing that we have to do is take, I think it says about 1/4 of a cup of parsley or cilantro. You can totally use cilantro if you'd like to. I love cilantro. Some people do not like it so much. You do not have to pull this off of the stem. You don't have to do that. You can leave the stem in there. I just kind of yanked a little bit off of the bunch. It's already rinsed, and I'm gonna hold it together as tight as I can. And I'm gonna chop this way, moving my hands kind of out of the way as I go. I do want a little bit finer of a chop for the parsley, so I'm gonna kind of turn my bunch. I'm gonna do it this way, and then I'm literally just gonna keep folding it back onto itself and go through it just a few more times to get a little bit of a finer cut. Turn this way. What I'm doing now, since I don't have to hold it and I don't have to hold the parsley any certain way, I'm just holding the tip of my knife to kind of put a pivot point. And this is perfect. I mean, these are really, it's pretty fine. If I wanted it to be even more fine, I could, but this is perfect to me. So I'm gonna leave that there. I already cut up the rest of my apples, carrots, and onions, so I have that right here. And the next thing that I'm gonna do is measure out all of my ingredients. So, all right, so we have our spice mixture. It's already mixed up all together, but I have a teaspoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of curry powder. This is a substitute for coriander. Also, not necessarily a normal substitute, but it's something that I like. A good substitute for coriander is parsley or cumin, which we already have in here. So, but I know I like curry powder, so I'm gonna put that on there. And then we have a fourth of a teaspoon of salt and pepper in here, and so this is our mix. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our chicken, our drumsticks. If you're using something that has a lot of excessive fat on there, go ahead and cut that off. And then we're gonna kind of put this mix over it. I'm gonna kind of fold it in there. I don't wanna get it all onto one single one, so we're gonna kind of make sure that it gets on everything else. Perfect. Now that it's got a little bit on all of them, I can just kind of move them around together. Perfect. Another thing that I've already done, and that I will show you guys in a minute, is I have the vegetables about to go on. I'm heating my skillet and my oil is already in there. You can use canola oil or vegetable oil. Either of those is just fine. And we're gonna do that for about 10 minutes until those carrots and onions soften up a little bit. We're gonna take those off, and we're gonna put our chicken in, and then we're gonna put them all in together to do with our chicken broth. But we'll show you that in just a second. So now we have these pretty well coated. They don't need to be completely covered, but to have a nice little coverage over it is good. Look, perfect. So this is a really good one. It's gotten on all the sides. So perfect. I'm going to show you what this looks like in just a second. Thanks, guys. We have our apples, carrots, and onions over medium-high heat, and we're going to have those on for about 10 to 15 minutes until they are starting to get brown. And we're going to have to move them around every few minutes, make sure they're not getting burnt on one side, and I'll see y'all back here in a second. So we have taken our veggies off and placed them in a bowl, and what we're doing now is we're gonna brown both sides of our chicken with the different seasonings on it for about 3 to 5 minutes, changing it between sides, and then after we do that, we're going to add our chicken broth and let that simmer for about 15 minutes, and then we'll add it all back together. So I'll see you in a minute. We've got a beautiful brown on both sides of our drumsticks after about 5 minutes of turning them. So now we're gonna add our chicken broth. I have 8 ounces right here. And then I'm gonna add another, I think it calls for 15 ounces. So I'm gonna add about 7 more in a second. We're gonna let that simmer for 15 minutes or until the internal temperature reaches 165, and then we'll pull them off. All right, our chicken is done, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take each piece and we're gonna transfer it to a clean bowl or plate, whatever you prefer. And then we've already see that some of our liquid has reduced, which is perfect. That's what we wanna see. And we're gonna put the rest of our veggies in here to cook even just a little bit longer. But before we do that, we have some raisins to go ahead and add to our mix. And then we're gonna add it all together. And we're gonna do this for about 5 minutes or until we see our broth reduced just a little bit more. And then we'll serve it up with some parsley and walnuts. All right, so we finished cooking our veggies. They were only lasted about 5 more minutes until the chicken broth reduced even more, and then we were left with something really beautiful. So this is what we have. Our veggies are on the bottom, and then we have our chicken in the middle. We did some fresh parsley and some walnuts. You could do cilantro or almonds if you didn't want to do walnuts and parsley, or they're completely optional. You don't have to do either. This is such a good fall dish. This is perfect for the season, and we're starting to get colder, and it's just a hearty, warm dish with some great veggies. So one other thing that you could do to make this meal like go a little bit further, so feed a few more people, or even just have some leftovers if you want to. You could make a whole grain to put this on the bottom of. So making some brown rice or some quinoa or something like that, make a base layer of that, then your veggies, then a piece of chicken, and this meal would last even longer. So that's another great option if you didn't have a side or something like that to pair it with. But again, this is chicken with apples and raisins. It looks so delicious. So if you'll excuse me, I have some eating to do. Thank you guys so much. See y'all next time. I hope you guys enjoyed that and got to see that we can incorporate some fruits and veggies and protein all into one meal, and maybe hopefully you guys will try it out. Also, apologies, I thought I edited my daughter screaming out, and I did not, so that was a surprise. So sorry about that.
I was just saying hey.
She was just saying hey, but I usually edit her heys out. But yeah, that's what that was. So does anybody have any questions about that recipe or about anything from any of this class?
Got someone in the chat that said that was great. Thanks. Yum. So good.
Yay, good. And then somebody else says, was the chicken skinless? No, it was not. And I totally recommend that you do take the skin off. That's, take away some of the fat if you can. So I did not for that video though. But yeah, you can cut that off. And you can also, I chose drumsticks for that recipe. They are usually quite a bit cheaper than breast or anything like that, but you can use any piece of meat that you have. For as far as chicken goes, you can use whatever piece of meat that you have.
Could a person substitute tofu for the chicken?
Oh yeah. Tofu is such a neutral, it's such a neutral taste. I feel like that whatever you season it with is usually, Day might be a better expert on this, but usually it's going to take on whatever flavor, you give it. So.
Also, because I try not to lean too much on tofu, so usually my go-to is a hefty mushroom, because mushrooms are still they taste kind of fleshy, so they kind of feel like a chicken would, and they also sometimes, depending on what mushroom you get, they shred kind of like a shredded beef sometimes, but they just kind of to me, they texture-wise, they're just as similar, but they also they're very filling. I think most people who eat mushrooms know they're pretty filling. Right. So they're gonna keep you just as full as if you were to use a meat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's less prep that goes into them too. Because that's one of the reasons I don't like tofu also, because I usually have to press tofu to get all the water out of it. And when you can just use mushrooms, also jackfruit, whoever said jackfruit, also great. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, tofu will not give you that texture. That's for sure. But it will give you the taste.
No matter how firm it says it is, it does not taste like meat.
Yeah. But it will take on whatever taste. And yeah, canned jackfruit would be amazing in this recipe as well. Absolutely. But yeah, so I hope that was helpful to you guys. Again, there are some things that even in the recipe, hopefully you saw, like, I didn't have one of the seasonings, and that didn't stop me from creating this recipe that I wanted to create. I found something that to me was a good enough substitute. And so if y'all ever are missing an ingredient or two from a recipe, try to look up a comparable item to that, and or look in your fridge of something that's going to go bad, and maybe present that instead. And don't let it stop you from cooking something you want to cook.
Sure.
Or going all the way to the grocery store for one or two things. It's not usually worth that. But
We have one question in the chat that says, what's the nutritional value of jackfruit?
Let's find out.
yeah, ask Deanna on that. I don't know. I eat it. I should know that. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so it says, I'll tell you, it says it's a healthful source of vitamin C, potassium, fiber, which is always great for your body. But it says that a cup of raw sliced jackfruit has about 157 calories and 2.8 grams of protein.
Yeah, and it says raw, but I can't imagine cooking it is going to vary that at all. That's telling you how much, though. So you said, what, a half cup? So a half cup of it.
Sorry, a full cup.
A full cup. Okay. That'll change because it'll be smaller, but
Sure.
yeah, it won't change the nutritional value. So it could be like barbecue jackfruit or jackfruit tacos one day or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know
I
we have
have
those
jackfruit in my pantry now, so I actually might go make something.
There you go. There you go. With some avocado dressing or a spread.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you guys so much. If you have any further questions, please feel free to email us, or I guess I'll put my email on after this, and then Day and I will get back to you.
Yeah.
There's one favor that we ask of you. If you can, please take this, just share it in the chat box. There's a link. If you'll click on the link now before we leave the Zoom, and then just type in the program code, which will be the same for all of our classes. If you've done it once, though, you don't have to do it for any of the other classes. We'd just love to see a little bit about what you thought about the class. It helps us to be better, and we want to know what you get out of these things, because we want you to take away things and know if we did a good job or not. So please take the survey. Let us know what you think. And if you have any further questions about anything that we could potentially help you with.
And I don't know if this is an incentive, but if you attend another class, you do not have to fill out the survey again.
Yes.
So you won't have to do this every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and please join us. We're going to have different topics, different recipes every week. We'll be having conversations just like we did this week, but then also completely different topics that will take us through different types of things that we can talk about in the kitchen. So thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to show our one more thing.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for joining us for Cooking Matters, Food Storage and Kitchen Safety. Be sure to register for the next live Cooking Matters virtual event, which is next Monday, this same time, 6 p.m., November 9, and that is Cooking Matters Family Meals. And of course, always check out our adult virtual events page for more content in the meantime. And if you want a great tip on health and wellness, be sure to use your library card. Check out those cookbooks, nutrition books, books on wellness. Your library card is your ticket to so many free resources, databases, downloadable, streaming like TV, ebooks, audiobooks, and music, not to mention our physical resources like books and DVDs. So don't forget to also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for library updates, and sign up for our e-newsletter. You can do all of that at greenvillelibrary.org. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you all soon.